over to the cloud. All right, take it away, Erica.
Okay, thanks for hanging in there in the technical difficulties. That
And
means
take
I
your
don't need to
time.
teach.
Take your time, okay?
Girl, we'll try. All right, so let's just kick it off. If you would like, throughout this session, you can go to this Padlet and submit ideas or your favorite or go-to programs, activities, themes, or lessons that you use in your school library. Um, there are different months. So we'll start with August and go all the way up to June. I am not in school during June, but I know so many people are across the country. So we've added June. I've added June as well. And to save time, I'm just going to leave that there for everybody to do, and then you all can access it later at your convenience. All right, so this screen is shifting in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, so I started this by just doing a full layout. And on my screens, you'll see August through December on this one. And then the next one will pick up with January and end in May. But there will be some things for June later on at the end. But just for symmetry, I left that one off of this long layout. This is how I kind of approach my year in August when we head back to school. Sometimes I say to myself, I'm going to do it in the summertime, but really, there's so much other stuff happening in the summer, I just can't think about it. So when we head back to the school, this is what I usually focus on after our first PD day. What do I want to think about for the entire school year? So here are some common themes that you might see in August. Welcome back to school. Everybody's just kind of getting their feet wet, so to speak. And then one other thing that I saw pop up was Friendship Week. And then September, we head into fall. And so we always think about fall as a theme, but then that's also Banned Books Week and Library Card Sign Up Month. And then on the 15th of September, we all know that Hispanic Heritage Month starts, and so it rolls over into October, which also has Halloween and Day of the Dead, as well as Disability Awareness Month. And then November is one of my favorite months because I, as a middle school librarian, and even when I was a high school librarian, get to talk about picture books, even though I do that all year long. But it is Picture Book Month, as well as Native American Heritage Month and Thanksgiving. But I switched it around to one of my favorite sayings, courtesy of Marlo Thomas with St. Jude Foundation, and turned it into Thanksgiving. And then December is, of course, Computer Science Week. It used to be focused on our code or coding week, but it is now Computer Science Education Week. So all of those things come in there together. And then winter holidays. And in January, everybody talks about resolutions. I do not, because those are the things that sometimes people just kind of let go by the wayside. And so I like to think about what my goals are for the new calendar year. So we talk about new goals, new years, some award-winning books, because of course the YMAs, and then Lunar New Year is always around this time. In February, the biggest thing that I usually focus on is Black History Month. And then there's also a little bit of Valentine's Day in there. And then Ramadan is going to be a little bit early, it seems. It'll start on the 29th, not 29th, 28th of February, and then roll into March. And then March, of course, is spring break, but also March Madness in the sports arena. And then Read Across America, which has shifted to Read Across America Globe instead of Dr. Seuss's birthday or whatever else we used to call it. Women's History Month and International Women's Day, and then Holy. And April is where we all celebrate School Library Month, no matter how busy we are with testing, Poetry Month and Earth Day. And then in May, Asia Pacific Islander Heritage Month, Mental Health Awareness and Children's Book Week. And then June, of course, is Pride, Juneteenth, and then a couple of other things. So let's get into it. So here are a few pocket ideas for August. And as you'll see on each of the slides, they look the same. There is a bullet point list for topics or themes, and then some ideas at the bottom. So these ideas could be games, they could be displays, they could be things you might do as door decorations or lessons or programs or what have you. So for here, I really focus on back to school, just getting everybody back into the swing of things, right? And then Friendship Week and some book recommendations because everybody has not spent time reading this summer, as we all know. And so this is the time where we focus on who has read what, who wants to recommend what, and then shine a spotlight on those different titles. So some ideas range from a library orientation. Of course, one of my favorite ways to do that is with a breakout game. If you have a breakout kit, you can use that, or you could just create your own and not necessarily have to have a kit. And then a scavenger hunt, which is pretty similar. Guess Who? Does anybody remember the game Guess Who? I had a couple of favorite board games when I was younger, and Guess Who was mine. And so when I say Guess Who Teacher Book Edition, go ahead and just create that bulletin board space with child photos that your teachers or staff are willing to part with, and put those on the backdrop and then give a little cover to them. And on the cover of it, you would have a book that they featured. And so when they see that book on the outside, they'd have to guess who the teacher is. But then when they open it up, like a little program, they can see the childhood photo. And so if they still don't know, then if they don't know who the teacher is, they're going to do a lot of guessing to try to figure out, to match that childhood or baby face to who that adult is in your building. Shelf talkers with staff recs are also a good idea. You could also do these with your students, or I'm sorry, learners. If you have a library advisory board, that's a great way to get them active at the beginning of the year, is for them to do some shelf talkers around the library on the shelves. And then friendship bracelets, because lots of people have maker spaces. So grab some cute little beads and yarn or whatever those tools are that you use to make friendship bracelets, and have that as an activity, especially during lunch hour. In September, it is Library Card Month all month long. We do have 9/11, which for these kids, they were not alive. The fall is upon us. Banned Books Week happens, and Dot Day is celebrating its 15-year anniversary this year. So it's going to be pretty special. Start the month with a little bit of book tasting. You could also invite your library, your public library staff to come over if you're having a family engagement night, or if you want to have something set up during lunchtime, or even just to send some library card applications home, or a flyer about how to apply online for a library card. Those are all great ways to get your families involved and making sure they have access to the public library as well. This is also a great time to share programming with them, if it's teen children's programming or even adult. And then thinking about maybe some virtual visits with other schools for Dot Day. This has long been a thing, so I don't think that's anything new, but just kind of getting to share with other folks about that amazing book. And then creating a fall themed book display. One of my favorites is to do one with orange covers. You might like to do fall titles, or maybe sweater weather, anything like that, that creates the atmosphere of kind of shifting to something new. Maybe even like a campfire display. And then in October, pulling more of the focus to Hispanic Heritage Month, Dia de los Muertos, which is also Day of the Dead, and then Disability Awareness Month. And so some ideas for that are the Global Read Aloud. Pernille Riff is graciously doing the Global Read Aloud again this year. You can go to that website to see the titles that have already been selected. This is a great time to encourage your staff to read aloud in the building. One of the ways that I'm going to encourage my staff to do that this year is because we have a new schedule, and we have a flex period in that schedule for our 8th graders. So really want to connect with them some more, because we want to make sure that I want to make sure that they're still engaged in literacy as they approach their high school career. And so asking teachers to do read alouds in the classrooms, or maybe even having some guest read aloud happen sporadically throughout the school year. You can partner with an art teacher or do some art in your building. We also have our public library, our public teen librarian, who comes every month with us and does arts and crafts and other programs. And so Sugar Skull Art is one. Making a friendas, which are altars, which are ways to kind of honor our ancestors or those who have passed. And making marigolds. Our art teacher at my old high school used to do this huge project with marigolds, and we used to hang them up around the library. So those are ways that you could celebrate Dia de los Muertos, or kind of share what that holiday is about and the traditions and the importance. It's also Halloween, so thinking about scary stories. Maybe you can write a scary story or host a murder mystery party. That's probably more along the lines of high school, but maybe a way to alter it for the lower grade levels. And then finally, because of disability, in conjunction with Disability Awareness Month, creating a display that centers books with characters with disabilities. And so we're shifting over to November, where it's a little bit cooler and things are starting to slow down. But so we think about giving thanks. This is also Picture Book Month and Native American History Month. And some of the ideas that I have around this are a field trip, either outside or in school. Our Native American Indian Association has a powwow every year during this time, and a lot of our schools go to the powwow. But there's also an option for you to have them to come out and have a visit with your students. It's just kind of talk about the different tribes that are native to your specific area. And making fry bread is an alternative. You can pair it with the picture book Fry Bread by Kevin Muller, which is a really cool book, and it has recipes in there for the fry bread that Kevin used to make with his family. And then the last one is Picture Book Emoji. I love a good emoji. That's how I talk all the time. But you can put emojis together and have students try to figure out what the book title is based on the emojis. So if y'all are any good at this, I would see you drop an emoji or some emojis in the chat to represent the story Charlotte's Web. What do you have? I'll be happy to go back and look at those after I finish talking. For December, I did this last year. Actually have done it a couple of years, but it's just been a little bit different. And this past school year was the time that I delved a little bit deeper into it instead of some surface level stuff. But it is Computer Science Education Week. And so Hour of Code is something that we did before, because you can just go to code.org and just kind of let students fly, just pick an activity, right? But I want to challenge myself and some other folks, if you are new to coding, to step outside of the box, create a coding challenge for your kiddos, or do some Hour of Code activities, even some unplugged activities, right? Thinking about algorithmic thinking and computational models. What are some unplugged things that they could do? And by unplugged, I mean, what are some activities that they can do to show computational thinking by not using a computer or any other tech device, right? It's possible. We do it all the time. Thinking about algorithms is just the step-by-step process, right? So an easy example of an algorithm is a recipe. You're following a recipe to create something. Um, Coding the events of a story. This is something that popped up to me as I was, because of course we all have other duties as a time. I am now teaching computer science in addition to being a librarian. And one of the things that I thought was really cool was I saw a teacher teaching her elementary students a story that they had read. And so they were working on sequencing the plot, and they had to code the robot to tell the robot where to go on the kind of floor mat to say what was next or what happened next in the story. And then you could also host a multicultural lunch hour for winter holidays around the world. There's so many. You've got Kwanzaa, you've got Hanukkah, you've got Christmas. So thinking about all those different things and being able to share together. I say lunch hour because this is something that my middle school students have started to do, is have a potluck. So they'll bring stuff from home. They'll have a potluck or a birthday party with their friends that they're usually at lunch with when they come to the library. And so I think it's a great way for them to talk about like planning. They've got to plan what to bring, who's going to bring what, all of that type of stuff. And then January is the YMAs. So host a watch party, right? If they are in their pajamas, tell them to come in their pajamas. If you want to serve popcorn or have some hot chocolate because it's really early in the morning, those are great ways to get your kids involved and have an understanding of the Youth Media Awards and what the hype is all about. But of course, you've got to kind of front load that with some lessons about the different awards and what the awards categories are, as well as what the criteria are for being nominated and winning. And of course, thinking about some book displays that are winter themed or also self-help, maybe like yoga or getting my mind right, or maybe being a better note taker in class. Like, what are the different books that are aimed at goal setting that might be good for students? And then hold a lantern festival or learn the Chinese zodiac. So these are all some things that you can kind of center around Lunar New Year. And then in February, one of the things that I found so intriguing a long time ago with one of my kind of mentor librarians, who's also a friend, is the Living Wax Museum. So they would learn about someone in Black history and not the common people we always talk about, but then have a living wax museum in their GMR library. And it's just a time for the families to come around and get to see the student work displayed. And so students are there saying who they are and telling more about those individuals. The popular blind date with a book. You could also do Nacho Mama's romances. So
Put it in for another cue.
some YA or middle grade love stories. Is that for me?
No, someone muted by accident. Go ahead.
Okay. And maybe you're anti-romance. So you might have some black hearts in your library or some red hearts in your library. That's a great way to find students who are interested in doing the little handwriting and sending notes to each other or posting nice notes about the library on your bulletin board. And then pair some students with feeder schools and do some reading buddies to make new friends. And of course, in March, everybody does, I think, March Madness, or lots of people do, if you have the time to set up a board like that. But you could do a tourney bracket. You could also just do a paper one and have people compete. And creating some book trailers and hosting a viewing party or a film festival, however you might like to call it. This is a great way to get kids to kind of work on their speaking and listening standards as well as their writing standards, because they'd have to write out a script, right? Or at least do a storyboard. And then sharing traditions and books about Holi is also another way to kind of get students a new understanding of a holiday that they may not be familiar with. And so for April, of course, we like to do all the things to celebrate the library, but maybe if you cannot typically host an Arthur event, or early in the year is not good for you because it's so busy, maybe April is a great month to host an Arthur event if you can afford one, or there may be some discounted ones or ways to get grants for those in your area. Also hosting a readathon, but maybe even hosting a poetry slam. This was one of the favorite things that I did at the high school librarian. At the high school, I taught it because kids at that point are just they're in creative writing classes, and it was easy for me to kind of use those students and get other people excited about it. But then thinking about sport poetry contests, so thinking about blackout poetry or magnet poetry using a cookie sheet and some magnetic letters, or even not even using magnetic letters, but just printing out different words and putting magnets to them, and then students can create their own poetry based on what's there. And in May, creating some displays around mental health disorders and Asian American Pacific Islander characters, as well as putting a spotlight on the teen health and wellness calm room that Rosen provides, which is great, especially when you can also do that in April as kids are testing, if that's your testing month. But then in May, it's a great way to kind of keep people wind down or calmed down because everybody's so hyper at the end of the year. And for June, of course, centering some LGBTQIA plus voices and a display for some fun summer reading, maybe thinking about a road trip. Clean Getaway comes to mind, or some other fun stories like that. And then hosting a Juneteenth journey. Just I use this because it's a great way to do. Everybody loves an escape game, and I saw a public library host an escape game, which like the idea is great. Like taking them on a journey of African American heritage or Black heritage, but just please don't call it an escape game or slavery anything or freedom anything. Yeah, stay away from that. So yeah, that's that. That is all, folks. I did that with 1 minute over, and yeah, thanks for hanging in there with me.
That you did. Oh my God. I was going to give you 5 more minutes on the clock because, we have time today. Thank you, Erica. That was a lot of great ideas. And I was
You're
listening.
welcome.
I'm like, okay, I could do this too. I could do this too. I'm going to try this one. So thank you so much. And all of your resources, I don't know if you're sharing the entire presentation, but just as a reminder to all of the presenters, make sure you fill out that one pager that is in one of the emails I sent you, because we want to post it online on Sunday for everyone to view. Everyone is very eager to see the recordings as well as the resources that were shared throughout the presentation. So thank you so much. All right.
I just want to say, y'all are amazing. Y'all have filled up this Padlet. Thank you so much. I hope y'all can go back to it later and share it with others.
Oh yeah. Okay. Really? This are
Thank you so much, Casey.
You're so welcome, and thank you again for presenting today, sweetheart.
Of course.